chase. That's the shit that glorify. I don't even try hard. This gangsta shit he waterlies. No records of a trace. When your crime is organized, no man is over me. I'm highest in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I cross the state borderlines. Spin your pocket horrified. Fuck you, bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga. Hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine. Open mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime. You know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me. I don't need them to know it's me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do it bogusly. Smoke you like the stove for you. Beat you like the stove for me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment. Niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me. That's what they supposed to. I want all the smoke, nigga. Cut the shit you think bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, if you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all this smoke, nigga. Cut the shit you think bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, if you came with me. Yeah, you know what's going, stop playing with me. Real gangsters move critically. When that shit get critical, no peace amongst enemies, no pity for the pitiful. Real nigga down to the bones and the minerals. Stick to the G code, I never told another soul. True to the literature, now salute the general. Kill you on your birthday, dance slide on your funeral. It ain't about the clout chase, I'm a man of principle. Niggas out of body, now they body isn't critical. Cradle to the casket, the life we live is typical. God body, cause I will depart you from your physical. Niggas living fantasies, act like they was the only one. Don't talk to me about these streets. Fuck you like you know me from. Just cause you related to the gangsters, that don't make you one. I ain't got no bloodline in these streets, but I could spill me some. I ain't got no mercy for this bitch, and she outside with us. They on demon time, we bring them hell and the fire with us. All this smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, if you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all this smoke, nigga, cut this shit you think bad enough to test. Amongst enemies, no pity for the pitiful. Real nigga down to the bones and the minerals. Stick to the G code, I never told another soul. True to the literature, now salute the general. Kill you on your birthday, dance slide on your funeral. It ain't about the clout chase, I'm a man of principle. Niggas out of body, now they body isn't critical. Cradle to the casket, the life we live is typical. God body, cause I will depart you from your physical. Niggas living fantasies, act like they was the only one. Don't talk to me about these streets. Fuck you like you know me from. Just cause you related to them gangsters, that don't make you one. I ain't got no bloodline in these streets, but I can spill me some. I ain't got no mercy for this bitch, and she outside with us. They on demon time, we bring them hell and the fire with us. All this smoke, nigga.
What's good? What's good? Shalom, shalom. What's up? What's up? I know y'all see the title, right? I know y'all see the title. Entering the 2-minute warning. Countdown to World War III, right? So yeah, of course we've been following this thing closely for a while now. Seeing the valleys and peaks of this whole conflict thing that's going on over there, right, in the Middle East and in Russia also, right. So yeah, we been following it closely, right, keeping our eyes on it, watching this, seeing how prophecy is unfolding, right, and that way we can be, don't be scared. We can be prepared, you know what I'm saying? We can be ready, right? So of course, right, want to give all praises to the Most High, right? Yahweh, who, and his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right, who the world mistakenly calls Jesus Christ, right? So yeah, we're gonna get right into it, right? But before all of that, Now we got a couple little inserts of some from some news articles, right? Some headlines and stuff. Some cause we, like I said, we are watching this thing, right? We are seeing what's going on with this thing. So yeah, let's read this, right? Because we know recently Trump sent some submarines over that way, right? Escalating things, ramping up things, right? So it says Trump. Let me move this over a little bit. It says Trump deploys 2 nuclear submarines in response to provocative statements from Russia politician Dmitry Medvedev. U.S. Ohio-class submarines carry up to 24 Triad 2 D5 missiles, capable of striking targets 4,600 miles away. Trump defends deployment as protective measures, emphasizing America's safety and warning against careless statements in international affairs. Medvedev escalated tension with reference to dead hand system, responding to Trump's dismissal of Russia's economy. So, and that's important to know because, we've been following this thing. And, we had reported a while back when this thing first kicked off, Russia told America when Biden was in office, like, stay out of it. If you do X, Y, Z, we're going to push the button, right? They just jumped straight to the N-word, the N-word being nukes. They said, look, we ain't going to bomb you back. We're not going to send troops. We're not going to, blow up whatever. We're just going to push the button on you people if you start, if we feel like you're interfering too much, right? They told them that. It wasn't no in between. They didn't say we just going to go to war. They said, no, we're going to push the button, right? So it says, Trump shortened deadline for Russia to end Ukraine war to 10 to 12 days, putting pressure on Putin, right? And, we was talking about this before. Last time, he called himself putting a deadline on somebody. He bombed them like 3-4 days within the time that he said he was going to actually, make a move, right? So, Russia not playing that, It says, Russia has expressed concern over potential new strikes on Ukrainian nuclear facilities. So, they look like they might, we don't trust America. They might hit Iran again. Then it says, Israel and U.S. Bomb Iranian nuclear sites in June to prevent nuclear weapons acquisition. Russia criticized these actions, warning of catastrophic risk and calling them cynical. Which is crazy, it is, because they trying to prevent, them from getting a weapon, but everything they doing is just causing them to get a weapon. Russia has cultivated closer ties with Iran, signing a strategic partnership treaty, right? And we were speaking about this. This is called the BRICS. We was, speaking about this recently. The BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, Iran, China, and South Africa, right? And Ezekiel 38 tells us that they were going to partner up. Ezekiel knew this, about damn near 3,000 years ago, right? That this was going to happen, right? And we see it unfolding now, right? Then it says, sustainable peace and no strike promise needed for normalization Iran UN nuclear dogwash cooperation. U.S. deadlines without action benefits Russia and China, allowing continued aggression in the Ukraine. Russia makes rapid territorial gains, overwhelming Ukraine defenses with sophisticated drone attacks. Unused bipartisan sanctions bill could pressure Russia and countries supporting its war effort. China actively supports Russia with weapons, drones, and economic assistance in the Ukraine conflict. So again, these are the BRICS squad. The four carpenters that we read about in Zechariah, right? That we went over: Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and then of course they got South Africa, but the main partners is those four, right? In Iran. And we, like I said, and we see it unfolding throughout geopolitics, throughout the world, that these nations that the Bible said in the end times was going to come together and be together to form against America. We see it happening in these end times, right? This is why we believe in the Bible, because the Bible, that's why it says that God declared the beginning from the end from the beginning, right? He told us everything that was going to happen. We just got to read it. And it says, supporting Ukraine is critical in U.S.-China competition, weakening a key pillar of China's global strategy. It says India will continue buying Russia oil despite U.S. threats of penalties. Because again, they BRICS wide, right? They like Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka. They not, they together on this, right? It says citing long-term contracts and global price stability. So again, like I said, so everybody's picking sides, because that's what World War is about. Everybody picking sides, right? And then everybody just go rumble. You pick somebody to fight, and just like when you're playing basketball, you're playing 5-on-5. Like, all right, who got that person? Who got that person? And that's what this is shaping up to be. Then it says Russia remains India's top oil supplier, accounting for 35% of its imports of the first half of 2023. It says Trump threatens 100% tariff on countries buying Russia oil unless Moscow reach a peace deal with Ukraine. India state refiner recently paused Russia oil purchase due to narrowing discounts, not political pressure. UN sanction on Nayara Energy and Russia-owned refinery have impact oil products shipment from India. Right, so they're trying to cripple their finances, right? Because they all work together, right? But then America and India, they got a little some type of commerce type business stuff going on, right? But India is part of the BRICS though, so America's trying to use their somewhat influence, but it ain't gonna work, right? Because war is in their heart, right? And then it says alternative approach suggests target sanctions and Russia universal tariff to pressure Putin without causing widespread chaos. Seizing $300 billion in frozen Russian assets could support Ukraine defense and reconstruction, countering Putin's economic strategies. It's funny how I'm just reading that, and it's funny how they said freezing $300 billion could support Ukraine defense and reconstruction. So I guess freezing is a new fancy word, a new politically fancy word for stealing, right? Cause that's just what I read. It says season 300 billion because you took it, right? Then it says season 300 billion in frozen Russian assets could support Ukraine defense and reconstruction, countering Putin's economic strategy. So yeah, that sounds like good old fashioned stealing to me. Continued military aid to Ukraine is crucial. Trump should commit long-term support to force Russia reconsideration. Changing Putin's calculus require hindering Russia's machine, supporting Ukraine and gaining allies' backing. Which ain't gonna happen, right? So, they got hopeful wishes, right? This is from Newsweek, right? This is from, I think earlier today, I believe. So it says, Russian lawmaker Viktor Velilovsky responded to President Trump's decision to move U.S. nuclear submarines to appropriate regions near Russia by saying that Moscow can count far more submarines than Washington. So look, we got more subs than you, right? You know what I'm saying? We got subs everywhere. God dang, everybody got a sub over here. We got a sub, right? Then it says there are significantly more of our nuclear submarines in the world's ocean, and they have the strongest and most powerful weapons. True, they got a lot of subs, they got the most subs, and they have the most nuclear weapons. So does Russia, right? Then it says, Vodolavsky, who is also first deputy chairman of the State Duma Committee of Commonwealth Independent State Affair Eurasia Integration and Relations with compatriots, told Russia's government control news agency TASS, better known as TASS, right? Then it says, this is why. So, he like, look, we don't care. Basically, he's saying, like, look, we don't care about them 2 little subs that you sent over wherever you sent them at, right? Because, look, check this out. This is dude talking spicy, right? They've been talking spicy. He says this. This is why. Let Trump 2 boats float. They have been at gunpoint for a long time. He added, right? So, meaning, look, we see your 2 subs. We know you got 2 subs, nigga. We've been watching your 2 subs. Like, matter of fact, we got so many subs in the ocean. Nigga, your subs is under, you don't even know. We got your subs at gunpoint. We just waiting for a reason for y'all to do something crazy. So, yeah, go ahead. We watch. We know exactly where you at. And you been at gunpoint for a long time. Like, meaning, we know, we see you. We know where you at, right? Basically saying we ain't scared of those 2 subs. Then he said, Vodolavsky provocative comments followed the U.S. president announcement on Friday of repositioning of 2 U.S. nuclear submarines near Russia. The announcement itself can be seen as the latest escalation in an increasingly sour relationship between Moscow and Russia. Because they, in 2016, it was buddies, but now, hey. Then it says, which has been worsening since the weeks as Russia President Vladimir, the real Pusheisty Putin, has appeared deaf to Trump's repeated request to end the war in Ukraine. So he's like, I ain't trying to hear all that. Look, Trump, whatever, right? And he say, despite Trump's declared admiration for Putin and his willingness to accept an end to the war in Ukraine that could undoubtedly favor Moscow over Kiev, the relationship between the two leaders have became frayed in the recent weeks. And tensions are now running high between the two countries, right? And we see this happening, right? Because you're watching the news, and plus the Bible told us it was going to happen. Then it says both holding significant nuclear arsenals. The threat exchanging between them carry the threats exchanging between them carry a particular heavy weight, and because they have nuclear weapons, and Putin, the real Pusheisty, already said that he's going to push the button. He didn't, say no in between stuff like I'm just going to use a missile and hit you, or I'm going to sabotage this, or I'm going to send some troops over that way. He didn't say that to America. He said, nope, if you get involved, I'm gonna break the glass that say don't break. I'm gonna push the button that says don't touch. That's what he said, right? U.S. announced 39% tariffs on Switzerland on Swiss imports, stunning Switzerland and threatening tensions of 1,000 jobs. That's important because we've been talking about this all week. How America is the beast. I mean, the NATO and the EU is the beast. America is the whore that rides the beast. And it says that the beast is going to end up hating the whore, right? So, now, Trump done sanctioned one of their EU members and, NATO members, Switzerland, 39% on their imports. Then it says stunning Switzerland and threatening tensions of thousands of jobs. And they supposed to be, on the same team, right? So, just like it says in the book of Daniel, we're not going to get it for time's sake, but it says that the kingdom should be partly strong and partly broken. And we see how this empire of the Western world is at odds with each other. Whether you got Trump in Canada, Trump in, Hungary, or who got territory control over Greenland, either Finland or one of them, right? Or Trump with everybody, right? Russia with Ukraine, right? Israel with Iran, America with Iran, China with Taiwan, so everybody just, like I said, so people picking sides. So it says, Swiss governments plan to revise offer to the U.S. considering LNG purchases and increasing investments as negotiations options. Switzerland faces recession risk, and economists predict up to 0.6 GDP reduction if tariffs are imposed. Swiss officials deny reports of quarrel with Trump, but admit the negotiation call was unsuccessful. Right? So, they, like I said, they're supposed to be on the same team. Right? And one is trying to make the other country broke. It says OPEC agreed to increasing oil by 547,000 barrels per day amid concern over Russian supply distribution. The production hike fully revised a 2.2 million barrel cutback from 2023 aimed to stabilize prices. The U.S. President threatens tariffs on Russia oil buyers, potentially impacting global crude oil prices, right? So that's going to mess up stuff. Because we need oil for a lot of stuff, right? Not just for, they little army tanks. Oil is used for a lot of stuff, right? And then it says, India and China, Moscow biggest oil customers, face potential disruption, some Indian refiners already seeking alternative suppliers, right? So that's eventually going to become a bigger problem, right? So we got to understand this stuff. This is of the Most High. All these things that we're going to see is going to continue to escalate. Like we said before, when, what was it, Valentine's Day, about 3-4 years ago, when Russia went into Ukraine, and Russia talking about, about a week. And we said, it's going to escalate. It's going to get worse. It's not going to be a week, right? This is war, right? And it says, drills were scheduled before Trump's order to position nuclear submarines in response to Medvedev remarks. Russia and China, strategic partners since 2022, regularly conduct joint exercises to demonstrate military coordination. Tension arises as Trump expresses frustration over a lack of progress in ending the Ukraine war. Right? So, and that's another thing to pay attention to, like these military drills, right? And because oftentimes, in these military drills, because like that's what Putin said last time. If we remember, Putin was like, yeah, we're gonna be doing a military drill and by Ukraine. Then before we know it, we turn on the news. Putin is inside of Ukraine blowing up stuff, right? So we got to be careful about these military drills, because oftentimes, they say drill, but then, they end up actually, putting in, going to action. What was I looking for? But enough was that was going on with these crazy white folks. Let's see what the Bible say. Let's get some. Let's go to Jeremiah 50, right? Jeremiah 50. Just start at 22, right? So so it's cause we gotta understand what's going on here in the times that we live in, right? And it says this: a sound of battle is in the land, and of the end of great destruction. And that's what's going on around the world. When you look around the world, there's great destruction, sound of battle. Bombs going off, guns getting shot. People, not being here no more, right? So, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction, right? And like I said, and that's exactly what we're witnessing. And pretty soon, we're going to be a eyewitness to all of this. Hold on one second. So it says, this is Psalms 66 and 5. It says, come and see the works of Yahweh. He is terrible in his doings towards the children of men, right? So, because, like I said, this whole thing is all by God's design, right? To put his people back on top, right? To establish his plan to, that he wrote out from the beginning. So this is like one of the greatest movies ever written, right? The greatest action story, the greatest drama, the greatest ever in everything, right? This thing would get like 1 million Academy Awards if we can able to sit back and just watch how this whole thing played out, right? So it's already the number one selling book ever. Imagine if they make a movie, right? A real movie, not the little movies that they've been making. You know what I'm talking about. So it says, come and see the works of Yahweh. He is terrible in his doings towards the children of man. Right? He turned the sea into dry land. They went through the flood on foot. there did we rejoice of him, right? So God is all power. He does what he wants, right? We are just like this mere action figures in his hand, right? And he does what he wants. We just living out the script that he gave us, right? So he's in control of all this stuff. He wants this fiery end to this place to come because these people that is ruling this place are wicked, right? And it says, the sound of battle is in the land, right? And it says, the sound of battle is in the land. My bad, I was looking at something. It says, the sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction, right? And that's what we got to understand. Then, because right here, Exodus 15:3 says, the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name, right? He is a man of war, right? You know, some of the ancient people might even call him a war god, right? Yahweh is a man of war. Like it says right here, the Lord is a man of war, and Yahweh is his name, right? So back over here again, a sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut to cinder and broken? How is Babylon become desolate among the nations, right? And what is Babylon? Babylon is America today, because again, ancient Babylon was not destroyed and made uninhabitable because we still have countries and people over there today, right? We got Iraq, Iran and all that was all ancient Babylon, and they're still there, living it up, right? So this is talking about America, because America is that spiritual Babylon, that daughter of Babylon, right? And it says, let's get it over here. Let's get it over here. Let's start at verse 8. And it says, the people of Israel, this is Jeremiah 50:8 in the G&T, right? It says, the people of Israel run away from Babylonia. Leave the country, be first to leave. I am going to stir up a group of strong nations in the north and make them attack Babylonia. They will line up in battle against the country and conquer it. They are skilled hunters, shooting arrows that never miss. So when Russia pushed that button, because when it says I'm going to stir up a mighty nation from the north, it's talking about Russia and they good buddy Korea over there, right? So it says and it says, and they're skilled hunters, meaning their military, systems, capability of firing these weapons, they're gonna hit their mark, right? And it says, they are skilled hunters, shooting arrows that never miss the mark, right? So whatever coordinates they put in that little launcher thing, it's gonna hit whatever they tell it to hit, because God said it's going to do it, right? And he created it to do so, and he wants it to happen, right? And it says, Babylonia will be looted, and those who loot it will take everything they want. I Yahweh have spoken, right? So this place is going to be destroyed, and people are going to be going crazy, right? It's going to be, we all thought, when Katrina happened, people was wilding. Imagine Katrina on steroids in every city, right? Imagine that happening, right? What I mean by Katrina, I'm talking about the whole chaos of everything, right? Let's get right here. Let's jump up to 22. So it says, what is that? So it says, the Lord says, attack the people of Mataradim and of the Pekod, and kill and destroy them. Do everything I command you. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. The noise of battle is heard in the land, and there is a great destruction. Babylonia hammered the world to pieces, right? Because that's what America and NATO did. They went around the world bullying all the countries, making them get down or lay down, right? They had the military might to do so, and every country had to bow down to them, right? Then it says, and now the hammer is shattered. How is it going to be shattered? Because when our button gets pushed, that's how it's going to get shattered, right? And it says, and all the nations are shocked at what has happened, and the country, and all the nations are shocked at what has happened to that country. Babylonia, you fought against me, right? Because that's what they do. America fights against God every day. From their philosophies, from their way of life, to their whole culture, everything. It's all contrary to God. And then they perpetrate themselves as God, right? And then, like I said, everything they push is to remove God from the equation. Then it says, and you have been caught in a trap I set for you. So God said, I've been setting this whole trap for you people, right? You know, all along, I've been letting you do what you got to do just to set a trap for you, right? And it says, even though you did not know it, I have opened the place where my weapons are stored, right? So that's why we see Russia and China doing military drills together. We're seeing their Secretary of Defense talking about, look, dude, we got so many subs in the ocean right now. You think we don't know about your 2 submarines, right? And we don't care where they at. They've been under gunpoint. And we've been had those submarines surrounded, right? You know, so it's like, I opened my place where my weapons are stored. So, because again, Russia and them, they ain't talking about regular weapons. They talking about the N-word. And the N-word is the nuclear bomb, right? That's what they talking about, right? They not talking about bang, bang, pow, pow, boom, boom. No, they ain't talking about that. They talking about booyah, right? Kaboom, bow, bang, doom, 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 doom. All that stuff, right? That's what they talking about, right? So yeah, that's what they talking about. So he says, you have been caught in a trap has set for you, even though you did not know it. I have opened the place where my weapons are stored. In my anger, I have taken them out, because I, the sovereign Yahweh Almighty, have work to do in Babylonia. Attack it from every side, and break open the places where the grain is stored. Pile it up, pile up the loot like piles of grain. Destroy the country. Leave nothing at all. Kill all their soldiers. Slaughter them. The people of Babylonia are doomed. So there's no survivors when all hell starts to break loose. When they decide to push that button, when they decide to stop playing with America, it says, the people of Babylonia are doomed. The time has come for them to be punished. The refugees escape from Babylonia. That's talking about us. Because if you're a Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indian, you are an Israelite. If through your patrilineally. And we are the only ones that have a shot to escape this. Everybody else, it says, the people of Babylonia are doomed. The time has come for them to be punished, right? Because this is a punishment for them, right? But unfortunately, a lot of our people is going to die here, right? Because we want to cling on to Master, right? We want to sing and say, "Oh, America the Beautiful," right? But it says this: kill their soldiers, slaughter them. The people of Babylonia are doomed. The time has come for them to be punished. Refugees, escape from Babylonia and come to Jerusalem. Because that's where we're going to be brought to. Like it says in Jeremiah 14. And it says, Isaiah 14. And they shall tell how Yahweh our God took revenge for what the Babylonians had done to his temple. And we is his temple, because his people are the temple, the Israelites, right? So we are the only ones that actually have a chance to escape this pending doom that this place is about to come under. But how many of us is going to take it? How many of us are going to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments? Come back to who we are as a people, and keep the faith, right? And the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, right? So that's what salvation is: being saved from when Putin or one of them little BRIC squad members push the button. Because what you gonna do when a nuclear bomb is falling? I mean, especially the ones that they got now, right? There's no bunker, and even if you do have a bunker, how long you think that's gonna last, right? This place is gonna be utterly destroyed, right? Utterly destroyed. Let's get Revelation 9 and 15 real quick. Revelation 9 and 15. And it say, hold on one second. Yes, a lot here. So Revelation 9 and 15, right? So say, and the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, to slay the third part of man, right? So now these four angels, right? These four spirits. You got the little conspiracy theorists, people that be making the little TikTok videos of talking about like these four fallen angels that's chained up under the Euphrates River and all that crazy mess. No, these are four spirits that the Most High created to govern the earth, that influence nations and people to do things, to influence them to do what the Most High will is to do. And in this case, it is for the nations to go to war, right? So it says, the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and prepared for in a year to slay a third part of men. So that's what's gonna happen in this third war, in this World War III. A third part of man is gonna die, right? And that's just speaking of the battle. That's not necessarily talking about the general population, right? And let's get let's keep reading. Then it says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them, and thus saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of Jensen and brimstone, and the heads of horses were like heads of lions, and their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Right. So who's these horses that he see? Right. These are these military vehicles that we got nowadays that's able to fire these weapons and stuff. That's why he's likening it to, it says, having breastplate, meaning that it was armor, right? It was an armored vehicle of fire, meaning like out of that, because you ever seen like a fighter jet, underneath they got their missiles and, they can fire them off, right? Then it says, the heads of lions and of their mouth issue out fire and smoke. So that's talking about those missiles coming out, right? Of those jets and those airplanes. It says, by these three was the third part of men killed by fire and by smoke and by brimstone, which issue out their mouths. Because once these planes start dropping bombs and all that stuff, and all these other military equipment, it says, by these was the third part of men killed by the fire and the smoke and by brimstone, which issue out of their mouths, right? Then it says, let's get Zephaniah. Zephaniah 1 and 18, right? So Zephaniah 1 and 18 says, neither their silver nor gold shall be able to deliver them in that day of the Lord's wrath. Right? So, like I said, it says neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy radiance of all them that dwell in the land. So God is going to get with these people, as our dear brother T.I. say, expeditiously, right? And it says, neither their silver nor gold shall be able to deliver them in that day. Meaning, look, no matter how rich you are, right, in that day, you're going to be just like everybody else, right? Your money ain't going to save you in that day, right? And then these countries, like how they threatening to put sanctions on India, or they going to put more sanctions on Russia, they ain't worrying about that. So neither their silver nor gold shall able to deliver them in that day in the Lord's wrath. Meaning, it ain't about the money, right? We want to get you people off the map, right? So it says, neither nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in that day of the Lord's wrath. So, like I said, when that day happened, how they all say, those people say, we all one, we're all the human race, right? Yeah, that day, situationally, we all gonna be one. We all gonna be the human race, and we all gonna be on one accord finally, and that one accord is gonna be surviving, right? Everybody gonna be doing what they need to do to survive, right? And it says, but the whole land shall be devoured by fire of his jealousy. Talking about those nuclear missiles, those ICBMs, right? That's what it's talking about, right? That can get here within 35 to 45 minutes from China or Russia, right? That's what it's speaking of. And it says, for he make ready a speedy radiance of all them that dwell in the land. Meaning, he going to pay these people back quickly. Very, very quick, right? Or, again, quoting T.I., expeditiously, right? Let's get Isaiah 54 real quick. Isaiah 54 and Isaiah 54 and 16, right? So Isaiah 54 and 16, we got to understand, because, again, like that verse we read in Exodus, the Lord is a man of war, Yahweh is his name, right? He is a man of war, because it says this, Isaiah 54 and 16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals of the fire, that bring forth an instrument for his works. Meaning, he created these nuclear scientists, right, to make the nuclear bomb. He created Omer Heimer, whatever that devil's name is, right? He put that idea in what's the other dude that kind of jump started it, and they just hijacked it from him, you know. He put the idea in them. He created these scientists. He created the mathematics to able to even come up with the idea of doing these things, because he said, behold, I had created the smith. And let's take it back to the ancient days. What does a smith do? You have a blacksmith, you have a goldsmith, right? They used to, manipulate metal into objects, right? They make weapons, you can make a table, you can, whatever, right? Blacksmith, goldsmith, they was called at what they did, right? So our modern day smiths is our scientists, our inventors, our engineers, right? So he said, behold, I created the smith that bloweth the coal in the fire, that bringeth forth a instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. What is the waster? I'm going to tell you what the waster is. The waster is the N-word. Nuclear weapons. Okay? That's what the waster is. Right? He put that spirit on him to do these things. Because he said, in the fire of my jealousy, the whole land will be consumed. Right? Moving on. Let's get Revelation 12 real quick. Revelation 12 and 7. And it says, there were war in the heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels. Right? So now, what does this mean? Let's take the Christianity spell off of it, right? That we all been taught, like, you got Michael and Satan up in heaven, and it's just chaos because God don't have no control over his angels, and they just fighting each other. No. That's not what's happening here. This is a parabolic language that we read in Revelation, right? So we have to understand the allegorical message that he's speaking of, and understand how he's kicking it, right? Because this is slang. And it says, and there was war in the heavens, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels, right? So now, we talk about the different terminologies throughout the Bible that, that means, other things, right? Because you got to understand that context supersedes etymologies of a word, right? So we went over this before, but for those who new to this, we're going to explain it really quick. So sometimes, oftentimes, not all the time, when you see like this word right here, heaven means rulership or dominion, right? It's not always denoting a spiritual place, right, that the Most High dwells, because the sky that we can look up and see is called heaven, and then you got outer space that's also called heaven, right? And then you have the what we would call the spirit world, that's called, where the Most High dwells, that's called heaven, right? But then also in this context, when it's speaking of us, heaven is dominion over the earth, having rulership, right? Being sovereign, right? So it says, and there was war in heaven, meaning it was war with the Israelites, right? In Israel, and this happened in 70 A.D. when the Roman Empire surrounded Jerusalem in 70 A.D. and ended the state of Israel, right? So, says, and they fought against the dragon, and the dragon is, like I said, the Roman Empire, right? And it says, and the dragon, because we in Revelation, this is Revelation, and because remember this dragon has 7 heads and all that stuff, right? 10 heads, whatever, right? So that beast was the Roman Empire of that time, because that was the 4th beast during that time, right? We can break this down through Daniel, but for time's sake, we're going to try to do this quick. So that was the Roman Empire. So it says, and fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found no more in heaven. So this is talking about too, right? Like I said, in this Armageddon thing, they're going to come against the Israelites. We kind of covered this too, like, I think, a few days ago, that they're going to try to fight against, the Mashiach Yahushua and his people. And they're going to lose, right? They're going to die right where they stand, right? And it says, and they prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Meaning, they're not going to be ruling no more on this, on this planet. They're not going to have dominion, because again, heaven in this context is talking about rulership and dominion, right? So they're not going to have dominion no more. It's not going to be no more EU and NATO going around making policies for the whole world. And for that matter, it's not going to be no BRICS going around trying to usurp power and make policies of the world, right? None of those going to happen, right? Because it says, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Meaning they're not going to have a place to rule. They're not going to have dominion on this earth to have enough, power to rule, right? And a nation to rule, right? Let's get that really, really quick, in case you don't understand it, right? Let's get it in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 14 and 21, right? So this is the prophet Isaiah. And it says, prepare slaughter. What did the Most High say? Prepare slaughter for his children. So even the descendants of these people, right? Because, they say, well, that happened a long time ago. It wasn't them, so, we can't blame them or whatever, right? But we have something called white privilege, right? We have something called white supremacy, right? That system's still in effect. And none of the current descendants is doing anything to erase that system. So the Most High has a plan to fix it. And his plan is this: prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the faces of the world with cities. Right? So that's his plan to end this whole debacle of white privilege and white supremacy by preparing slaughter for his children and their iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So they're not going to be able to rebuild after this third world war, right? After this Armageddon thing, whatever few sprinkle of survivors that's left of them, they're not going to rebuild, right? Because it says, nor fill the face of the world with cities, right? So they're not going to rebuild after this, right? And let's get let's go back really. So let's get Daniel, right? Let's get Daniel. Let's get Daniel. I think Daniel 10, right? So so now this is Daniel 10 and 13, right? So it's you know, kind of too to better understand the whole Michael fighting for Israel and all that stuff too, right? So it says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief prince, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Right. It says, now I come to make thee understand that what shall befall thy people in the latter days. Right, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the unfoldment of what this angel had told Daniel and the other prophets that should happen to his people in the last days, right? And it says, and now I come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days, right? So yeah, the point is, right? It says, but the kingdom of Persia withstood me. So he's talking to an angel, right? So we know angels, right, are strong, powerful beings, right? You know, right? So what it's speaking of, right, is because this was during the Persian and Babylonian wars, I believe, right? Yeah, right. So and so now what's happening? Because like again, how we were explaining that you have angels, these four spirits that's that's being loosened to, and how we explain that these four spirits is what God created to influence, the world to do whatever, God wants to implement on earth. He used these four spirits to influence people to carry out, God's agenda, right? So with that understanding, this angel that's coming to speak with Daniel, was had to, it's basically like, I try to explain it like this. It's like basically he was influencing this Persian king to go to battle, right? And so, because when we keep reading, we see that it was a battle, happened or whatever, right? So, and because I believe because prophecy have to happen, because the Greeks is coming in to power after that, all that, right? So so basically he was trying to influence them, but then the king of Persia was being strong headed, and it's not like the spiritual influence that the angel was putting on him. He was fighting against it until he had to call Michael to come and help him, put that extra spiritual influence. Then that's what finally broke the Persian prince down to make him go into battle. Then I believe he ended up finally dying in that battle, I think. Right? So I hope that kind of make it, I know I went on explaining it, but hopefully that do clear it up. But yeah, so yeah, let's get Second Ezra real quick. Second Ezra 16, right? And 13. And it says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that shoot are sharp and shall not miss. So again, right, this is talking about these nuclear missiles, their military capability of hitting targets at deadly accuracy, right? It says, strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shoot are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world, right? So again, you know, like I said, Russia, China, they have intercontinental missiles that can hit America within 45 minutes, 35 to 45 minutes, right? And I don't know why I can't talk. Coincidentally, right? John the Revelator said that America should fall in 1 hour, right? So that's crazy. So it says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shoot are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world, right? And that's where they coming from the ends of the world, because Russia's over there, China's over there, right? But they got these hypersonic missiles that can fly way up in the atmosphere that's hard to detect with satellites. You know, you ain't gonna know what's happening until they get where they about to go and shoot back down through the clouds and back through Earth atmosphere and blow everything up, right? That's what they got, right? And it says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. So God said, I'm going to do this thing that I said I'm going to do. There's no turning back. You know, because a lot of our Christian brothers think that, oh, well, you know, all you got to do is, you know, these other nations can be saved and all that. But it don't seem like it, because it says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return. Shall not return again until they come upon the earth, right? So everything God said he's going to do is going to happen, right? Because vengeance must take place. Because people like to forget that vengeance is in this book. You know, if you're not actually speaking on vengeance, you're just speaking half truth, right? You know, because not everything in this book is all, you know, rated PG, right? You know, rated G7. You know, this book is not a G7 book. You know what I'm saying? This is a rated R book. This is a rated mature audience book, right? And we'll be doing a disservice if we don't speak about everything that's in here when we teach this thing, right? So it says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till consume the foundation of the earth. So, and that's what's gonna happen. Those things is gonna melt the earth, right? You got occasions where they got places where they tested these bombs at, and they like basically crystallized the ground that where the earth that it blew up at. You know, you got turned the stuff into glass, right? You know, this stuff was, and like it says in was it 1 Peter, I believe, that this stuff is going to melt the elements, right? Then it says, like as a arrow which is shot of a mighty archer, return not backwards. So, meaning, when you shoot an arrow, because we know the science of archery, right? I hope. You know, we all seen a bow and arrow get shot before, right? So, when you shoot a bow and arrow, you're not expecting that bow and arrow to come back, right? Especially if you're a good, strong archer that can pull that thing all the way back and fire it, right? So it says, like an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer, return not backwards. Even so, the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. Meaning God is going to do exactly what he said he's going to do, because he's a man of his word. He's not like us, you know. He's not a promise breaker. He don't lie. He doesn't say things and mean something else. Whatever he say, he's going to do it, right? So, and we got to understand that. Back over here. So, Jeremiah 50 and let's go to let's go to well, we can read this real quick. Let's go to 51, Jeremiah 51 and 7. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand and has made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. And that's a lot of these countries are mad at America. You know, that's why, you know, like I said, we see Switzerland looking at America like, dude, like, what's going on? Why are you sanctioning us like this, right? And they supposed to be EU partners. You know, America getting sanctioning Canada and putting tariffs on them, putting, you know, so these nations becoming mad at America. Not only that, they dragging them into a long, fought-out war, making them spend their resources. Other countries is getting poorer by the day, you know, dealing with this whole debacle that America and they cronies done started, right? So it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, meaning for a minute, everybody loved America. America was this great place to come, and everybody just, oh, America, America. You know, everybody's coming here, right? Boatloads of people, right? You know, and everybody wanted to come here for the American dream, right? But this place is crumbling, right? This place is falling down from grace. As it says, that made the whole earth drunken, the nations have drunk after her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad, right? So these nations are like all engulfed into the whole American philosophy, right? Because they have these intricate ties with this place, right? These business, you know, through business, trade, commerce, all this, you know, stuff that they got going on, right? And, you know, and a lot of these countries are allowed to deal with America because they accept, you know, America's policies and the stuff that they push on people. Because, like we read over here, that how is the hammer of the whole earth? It says, cut asunder, because they're called the hammer because they go around bullying everybody, right? Then it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she be healed. So it says, so all these nations that got intricate wovens into America, when America finally get destroyed, it's going to hurt them a lot because their finances, their GOP and all that stuff is based off of how good America is doing. And if America is not here, then that essentially messes them up. And it says, what did it say? Boom, boom, boom. It says take balm for her pain, meaning take some ointment. You know what I'm saying? But it's no ointment, right? It says, if so, she'll be healed. So we would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Meaning America, after World War III, is not going to be no rebuilding. You know how after war, you know, countries, you see stuff on the news, how they like, oh yeah, such and such is sending over aid fund and relief fund to help them rebuild after this. Yeah, because you remember, like, even after the Saddam Hussein thing, right, when they stole the government over there and took him out of power, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to rebuild and, you know, rebuild their whole thing and whatever, right? There's not going to be none of that for America, right? It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go, everyone, into his own country. For her judgment reach unto heaven and lift up even the skies, right? So meaning, like, look, this place is this so wicked, so, you know, there's no point of being here. So it tells you that everybody, in that day, everybody's going to return to their own country, right? And even in Ezra, it tells you that everybody's going to resort back to their own people, talking about civil war, you know, because when survival breaks out, you know, people tend to cling to what's familiar, what they call family, what they know to be, you know, familiar to them, right? And the Bible says that everybody is going to go to their own people. And we just read right here that every man is going to return to their own country. Once they see that, once they hear, pew, 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 Russia says, we're going to blow up America in blah, 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 blah time. Or once, you know, everybody's going to be fleeing. They're going to get their passports. They're going to get their whatever they need to escape out of this country. They're going to take their butt back to Africa, China, India, wherever they came from. They ain't going to be here, right? You know, they're going to try their best to get up out of here, right? And it says, yeah, then, let's get, go to Revelation. Go to Revelation. Let's see, which one? Let's get, yeah, we can do it. Yeah, let's start at Revelation. No. Louis, should we get this one? Really don't matter. We'll start right here, though. Yeah, let's get 18. So it says, Revelation 18, start at the top. It says, and after these I saw another angel. Saw another angel come down from heaven, saying, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. It says, and he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and behold, every foul spirit, and cage every unclean and hateful bird. Right? And it says, for all nations have drunken the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth has committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So all these nations that, you know, deal with America, deal with commerce, like I said, they got rich, especially during slavery time. Because how did a lot of these countries got rich? You know, England, France, Spain, all these nations got rich off our backs, especially America. America created the whole financial district off of us, off of the backs of black and brown people being enslaved, right? That's where their wealth came from. Then all these other nations that dealt with America, they also got wealthy, right? Let's get Second Ezra real quick. So yeah, start at 2nd Ezra 11 and 39. So it says, art not thou that remainest of the four beasts whom I made reign in my world, that the end of their times might be through them. So we know this is talking about the Roman Empire. And it says, and the fourth came and came the beasts that were past and had power over the world from great fearlessness and over the whole compass of the earth, which with much wickedness, wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit, right? And that's how these people operate, with deceit. That's how they're able to, dominate so long, because these people are not stronger, smarter, faster, bigger. They just deceitful. They know how to be cunning. That's why the Bible say they are cunning hunters, right? And we always talk about them. When we talk about them being cunning hunters, we always speak about their love for nature and hunting and killing things. But it's also cover a whole lot of different areas, right? With their abilities to be hunters, right? That subtleness. And it says, let's get 2nd Ezra 15 and 4. So, cause we gotta understand, like, this is where we at now. This is 2-minute warning, countdown of World War III, right? And it says, for all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 4. So all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness, right? And it says, behold, said Yahweh, I will bring the plagues upon the world, and the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So God already pronounced his judgment for these people, right? And it says all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness, right? So be that way, right? Stay that way, right? How it's another verse, I'm paraphrasing. It says, let the unjust stay unjust, let the wicked stay wicked, right? Meaning some people are just not going to get it. They're not going to change. They're not going to do what's right because it's not in them to do what's right, right? And our job is not to be one of those people, because we have to understand what we need to do as God's people, and that is keep the commandments in the faith, right? And because it says right here, for all the unfaithful should die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, said Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Meaning he sees everything that these people have done, right? I know a lot of us think that these people will never ever have to pay for what they have done. They're just going to continue living, business as usual, everything's cool, right? But they have to suffer the consequences for what they have done, right? He's not the God of justice if he don't pay these people back for all the things they have done on the earth. This whole Bible would not be true if this whole earth goes on for eons and eons and millenniums, and nothing ever happened to them, ever, right? It just continue going. That'll be a horrible existence, right? And it says, let's get Psalm 73. Psalm 73 and 9 says this, right? So it says, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walk through the earth. And that's what these people do. They speak blasphemy against the Most High God, right? They speak against God. They speak against his people. They speak lies. That's why they created all these different false religions that they created, right? That our people are so wrapped up in following. It says, and their tongues walk through the earth, meaning they promote the garbage that they spew. All the stuff that they come up with, they promote it. You know, they have means of putting their little ideologies out throughout the world and making everybody heave to it, right? Let's get Ezekiel real quick. Ezekiel, boom, boom, boom. I think I won, boom. All right. No, not that one. Let's get in fact, let's go to Jeremiah. Go to Jeremiah, right? And I think it says, yeah, Jeremiah 50 and 39 says, therefore wild beasts of the desert with wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelled in from generation to generation. So yeah, he's going to destroy this place. And it says, jump down to 42, and it says, and they shall behold the bow and lance are cruel, and will show no mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put array, like a man to battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. So that's how Russia coming. Russia is coming. It says they are cruel and will not show mercy. Right? They're not showing mercy. They don't care what Trump and them trying to do or whoever trying to do. Right? They got a mission, and that mission is to build the USSR back. Right? And get rid of America and their power structure, right? And it says, let's get, hold on. Let's get it. Ezekiel. I think I want. No, not that one. Not that one. Let's see. But no, we can keep reading down. So it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come up out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, right? And that's, again, we say this all the time, you got to come out of this place spiritually, right? And not follow the ways of America, right? Come back to our own culture, right? And stop, like I said, this assimilating into this whole thing, right? Because we got to understand, like, Martin Luther King's dream of integration was a disaster, as we can see 60, 70 years later, right? But we're still talking about no justice, no peace, right? Same thing, right? So it says, and I heard another voice of heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye are received not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. So God, like, look, these people have been getting away with so much for so long. Now I'm about to, pay them back for everything they done, right? Then it says, reward her even as she rewards you, and double unto her according to her works. So these people are going to get double. Like, whatever we went through, they have to go through it double time, right? And it says, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. So as much as America done live as the greatest nation and the shining, thing on the hill or whatever, says as much as great as she it says torment her as much as that, right? And America is probably gonna go down in the history as one of the greatest countries, right? On paper, right? So that means this place is gonna get it, right? And it's only beginning. We see in the birth pains, how Christ says. You see these nations, about to get into it, and then they calm down for a minute. But now, it's escalating a little more with these nuclear subs in the area, right? Then it says, reward her even as she rewards you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled, fill to her double. Meaning, give her all of it, right? America, everything that America got coming to it, the straight judgment, right? It's not going to be another make America great again. It's not going to be ever great again. This place is going to be a memory, right? Then it says, how much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and give her sorrow. For she said in her heart, I sit as a queen. So America think that they're the greatest country. No other country can mess with them. They're the best nation, greatest army, all that. Nobody's messing with them. And I have no widow and shall see no sorrow. Meaning, like, we won't lose it. We're not going to lose war. We're not going to lose in war. We got the best military. We're not worried about casualties because, we're very efficient, right? But no, not this time. Because like we read earlier, that when those arrows start to fly, and we know those arrows to be what we call ICBM missiles, they're going to hit every mark that they type in, in their little missile launch pad, right? It's going to hit everything that they want to hit, right? Because the Lord said it was. And what else we got? Says, therefore her plague should come in one day. How long is going to take to destroy America after America did all this hell on the earth and destroyed many nations all over the world, right? And more importantly, destroyed our nation. But it says, therefore her plague should come in one day. Death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burnt with fire. And how's that going to happen with those intercontinental missiles? Those ICBM missiles that Russia and China got, right? And Korea and Iran trying to get, and they probably already got something like it, right? So that's what's happening over here, right? Read it one more time. It says, therefore her plague shall come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is Yahweh God who judges her. So God is going to judge this place. Because all you Christian folks like to say, only God can judge me. This is what God's judgment looks like. Right here for it. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Death and mourning and famine. So people's going to die. It's going to be people very tumultuous time. It's going to be famine, meaning starvation is going on. Right? Then it says, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. That's talking about those nuclear bombs going off, right? And blowing everything up to smithereens, right? And like how we read earlier, there's going to be no survivors in this thing. Only ones that have a chance to survive is the Israelites. But if we don't come back to the law, statutes, and commandments and keep the faith in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai, then we're going to be part of this what we're reading about, right? So, we got to understand that point, right? He does. What else we got? Let's get. Did I read this already? Let me see if I read.
To use this feature, please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
Okay, yeah, we read that one. We can read this real quick. Revelation 14 and 8, real fast. And it say, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city. She made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Right? And that's what America has done by influencing these other nations, and, rather they do it willingly because they're greedy and want to partake in the wealth, or they do it because of the necessity of how America done bankrupt them and stole all their resources, so they made them depend on them. So it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out mixture unto a cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. Right? So that's what's gonna happen to these people, right? Because again, some of our people might get caught up in it. Let's get one more. What was it? It says Zechariah 13 and 9. It says, I will bring a third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined. So this is talking about those of us that's going to make it out, that's getting saved out of this Americas when all hell breaks loose, right? And brought into the wilderness, right? So we can go into the new covenant, right? Then it says, I will bring a third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. And I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my God. Right? And that's what we're going to say. In that day, we're going to understand that God is our God, and we is his people. Just like how we did right here. I know I said that's the last one, but hold on, hold on. There's one more just to confirm all that, right? One second. All right, Deuteronomy 26, real quick. I call this the contract, the blood oath. So Deuteronomy 26 says this, right? It says, I'm start at 16, 26 and 16, Deuteronomy. This day the Yahweh thy power has commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Right? That's what we should do. Right? That's the ramifications of the contract, to keep the commandments and do them. Right? And it says, thou hast vouched the Lord this day to be thy God. So God, so we have vouched that day. We said, this guy right here, who we call Yahweh power, right, is going to be our God, right? He's going to be our God. That's what we said. We vouched on that. He said, we're going to be our God. Thou hast vouched the Lord this day to be thy God, and walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes and his judgments, and his commandments and his judgments, and hearken unto his voice. So we agreed through blood contract, right, that this is what we're going to do. Keep his law, statutes, and commandments, and do what he tells us to do, right? Then it says, and the Lord has vouched. So God also vouched. So not only did we vouch by giving our word, right? Because you know the vouch means to give your word, right? So not only did we vouch to give our word, the Most High vouched. It says, the Lord hath vouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou should keep his commandments, right? That's what he promised that he's going to do to us, make us his peculiar people, right? Let's see what that entails, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 7. So Deuteronomy 7 says this, right here. It says, for thou, it says, for thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are on the face of the earth, right? So that's what it means by making us a peculiar people. He made us holy. He separated us. So it said, for thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are on the face of the earth, right? He created us to be above all people on the face of the earth. So where it says that the Lord hath vouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee that thou should keep all his commandments, right? So he said, as we keeping his commandments and doing his will, we're going to be his peculiar people. That's why we are the coldest and the greatest of everything. That's why everybody watches us. That's why everybody want to know what we're doing. The whole world wants to know what the black and Hispanic people are doing today. What's cool? What we need to learn what's cool today. So let's see what they're doing. Let's see how they talk. Let's see how they walk. Let's see, the music they like to listen to. Let's watch them, because we are a peculiar people. We are above all people that are on the face of the earth, like it said Deuteronomy 7, right? So we got to understand that. So he digs. So with that being said, right? Because that was what Zechariah 13:9, right? So when it says that he's going to refine us like gold, right? And just read that one more time before we get out of here. Bring it back home. And it says, and I will bring the third part. It says, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So we see who he's talking about. It's the Israelites, because he made a deal. He vouched that he's going to be our God, and we're going to be his people. And he's going to make us a peculiar people, a special people, a holy people, above all people. And then we can see the attributes of that in our everyday life, of how we live and how everybody wants to be us, right? Even though they hate us, right? So, I'm going to say shalom, right? Hopefully that was edifying. Hopefully, we understood what's going on in this thing. And, got a better understanding of prophecy and where we at in this World War III thing, right? On this countdown. On this final countdown. So yeah, right? I'm gonna say shalom. I'm out. Peace. We out. Take us home. Now get me something to eat. Find something Oh, that's what I need in my life. Oh.
I ain't really wanna be moving when it's wartime. Niggas love the cloud chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace when your crime is organized. No man is over me, I'm highest in the morning time. Lucky in the birds when I cross the state borderline. Spin your black and horrified. Fuck you, bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me. I don't need them to know it's me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do it boguishly. Smoke you like a stove here, beat you like you stole for me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me, that's what they supposed to. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block,